The new cadet hadn't even finished her first week when the torment began. It started with mocking laughter behind her back, then shoves in the hallway, and finally the moment that changed everything. 3 soldiers cornering her behind the barracks, blocking the only exit as afternoon sunlight flickered through the metal grates. She stood silently, her hands trembling, not from fear, but from the exhaustion of pretending their cruelty didn't hurt. They thought she was weak. They thought she didn't belong. They were wrong, but no one knew just how wrong until the retired SEAL commander arrived on base that same evening. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who is listening. The cadet's name was Mira Hale. She had joined the academy with a secret she hoped to bury. She was the daughter of a decorated SEAL who died on a covert mission no one spoke about. She wanted to earn her place without legacy, without pity, and certainly without anyone knowing who she came from. But the cruelest soldiers were always the ones who sensed quiet strength and mistook it for weakness. That afternoon, as they blocked her path, the largest soldier leaned forward until his breath touched her face. "Wrong place, girl," he sneered. "Space wasn't meant for people like you." Mira swallowed hard. She could defend herself. She had been trained since childhood, but she knew the rule drilled into her by her late father. Power means nothing if you can control it. So she kept her voice soft. "I'm just trying to get back to training." A slap cracked through the air before she could finish. It wasn't hard, but it stung more because of the humiliation than the pain. The other 2 soldiers laughed. Dust swirled in the warm air between them, as if the environment itself held its breath, watching. Yet Mira didn't retaliate. She simply lowered her gaze, feeling her heartbeat bruise her ribs. Somewhere deep inside her, she wondered whether joining the academy had been a mistake. Whether she truly belonged here, or whether she was doomed to always be the outsider, the one tested for all the wrong reasons. She thought she'd never see a protector again. She was wrong. The retired SEAL commander Elias Ward stepped onto the training grounds just hours later. The entire base went still when they saw him. A legend, though he hated the word. His hair had silvered, his voice had deepened with passing storms, but his presence commanded the respect of 10 soldiers with half the effort. Ward had been invited to give a leadership lecture to the recruits, but when he arrived early, he overheard whispers, the kind of whispers that carried guilt, fear, and the shame of soldiers who knew they had crossed a line. Something was off, and Ward's instincts, sharpened by decades of missions, refused to ignore it. The following morning, he called for an unscheduled drill. The entire base assembled on the dusty training field as the sun clawed its way above the horizon. Mira stood at the very edge of the formation, hoping Ward wouldn't notice her shaking hands, but he did. Ward noticed everything. He walked slowly across the front line of cadets, his boots pressing deep into the dirt. "Some of you," he began, "seem to have forgotten what the uniform stands for." His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of thunder. "So today you'll learn." He pointed at the 3 soldiers who had tormented Myra, front and center. Gasps rippled across the field. They stepped forward reluctantly, their bodies stiffening under the commander's stare. Ward nodded once. "Since you enjoy testing new recruits, I'll let you face one. But not in a fight. In endurance, precision, discipline. The tools of a soldier who understands honor." He slowly turned to Ward. "Mira, Cadet Hale, step forward." Her breath caught, but she obeyed. "You will lead them," Ward said. "If they fall behind once, they start over." The 3 soldiers stiffened. Myra's chest tightened. She didn't want revenge, she wanted peace. But Ward saw the hesitation in her eyes and gently murmured, "This isn't punishment. It's revelation. What quiet strength looks like." The drill began. Mira moved through the obstacle course with a grace none expected. Her movements were sharp but controlled, as if each step carried a memory she refused to show. The soldiers struggled behind her, panting, tripping, cursing under their breath. Myra didn't look back, not out of pride, but because she didn't want to see them breaking. She simply pushed forward with everything she had. Ward watched her closely. He recognized the control, the discipline, the restraint. She reminded him of someone he once trained long ago. And when he glanced at the dog tag she wore under her collar, partly visible as she turned a corner, he understood. She wasn't just any cadet. She was Hale's daughter. As Myra completed the final sprint, the soldiers collapsed, exhausted and defeated. And in that moment, the murmurs began. whispers spreading across the base like wind through dry grass. They saw her differently now, not as a target, not as an outsider, but as someone who had endured more than they ever guessed. Ward stepped forward and addressed the formation. "Let this be a lesson," he said, his voice steady. "Strength isn't loud. It isn't cruel. It isn't found in mockery or force. Real strength is measured in how you rise when you're torn down." He then turned to Mira. "Your father would be proud." Her eyes widened, her throat tightening. It was the first time anyone had spoken of him since she joined. The 3 soldiers approached her afterward, heads lowered, voices soft with regret. Their apologies trembled with sincerity, and Mira accepted them, not because they deserved forgiveness, but because holding anger would only anchor her to the past she was trying to rise above. In the quiet that followed, Ward placed a hand on her shoulder. "Belong here, Myra, more than you know. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back." And on that training field where she once felt small, Mira finally realized she wasn't in the wrong place after all. She had simply arrived before others could see who she truly was. Thank you for listening to this story. If it moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful tales from Whispered Words. Your support helps these stories find the hearts that need them most.